Guest candidates, my name is Godfrey Palas, Executive Head of Sales from UNISA Enterprise. I would like to take this opportunity and formally welcome everybody to our third and final session, actually, since we began on Tuesday. We've seen phenomenal response in as far as the numbers are concerned of participants. And we really would like to appreciate and applaud everybody for their participation, the various speakers, the questions that have been posed. And we're saying it's the final day today, but in actual fact, this is just the beginning of our journey as a collective. So in as far as this, webinar trainings are concerned, this scheduled 3 days, today is the final day. So without further ado, I would like to reiterate our heartfelt appreciation for the commitment and, the support as well as the delivery of the organizations that's
You are unmuted, sir.
We can't hear you. We can't even see.
So in as far as today's program is concerned, part of the housekeeping rules, can we humbly appeal to members to mute their mics because they interfere with the narrations or the delivery. So if we can make sure that as we log in, colleagues, we mute our mics. Another disclaimer going forward is that all the information, the emails, the phone numbers, the organizational contacts that you're sharing with us, you're doing so solely at your own discretion, just so that we can be in observance of the protection of personal and private information. So we're not soliciting information by any means, that is uncalled for. So whenever you volunteer and share your contact details with any of the participants here, kindly know that you're doing so solely at your own discretion. But should there be a need for confidentiality, please do indicate so that we can treat the matter as such. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take this opportunity and outlay the program for the day. So the introduction and the outlook of the day in as far as the module is concerned, I will hand over to Prof. Mapoli. Then at the end of the session, we will have the representatives from the various mentioned organizations to do their vote of thanks. And then from there, we will engage on the way forward. We'll talk to the way forward. So without further ado, Prof. Mapoli, over to you. Thank you very much. And once more, please do switch on your video when you're making a deliberation. Thank you very much, colleagues. Prof. Mapoli, over to you.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, everyone. I just want to quickly leave the other meeting. Okay. Sorry, I'm in the office, so I was just trying to check some of the technicalities. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, everyone. And I'm glad that this is a day 3, not that I'm glad that we are about to finish. No, it's that the course has been, or the workshop has been running very well. And for the past 2 days, we have been doing really, really well. And I must applaud all the attendees that you've done a very good job. And also Godfrey for leading us. You've done a really wonderful job. And all the colleagues who have been coordinating behind the camera. And everyone, it is much, much appreciated for us to be able to have this. I'm gonna just allow Malobane to just share my slide today. I'm not gonna go deeper. I'm gonna just refresh our minds on what we have been doing for the past 2 days. That is just to make sure those who only joined today, at least they have an idea of where we are. Dr. Malobane, please, can you share the slides for me?
Okay, can I be made a co-host because I can't share if I'm not a co-host?
Brandhill, please, can you make him a co-host?
Who should be made the co-host? I just made you Dr.
Malobane.
Malobane.
Malobane. Okay. Who should be made the co-host? I just made you Dr. Malobane. Okay. Okay, done.
Okay, I think you can share now. If you can just quickly go to slide number 2. Okay, so colleagues and all our delegates and all our collaborators and all the stakeholders, we have been actually discussing or engaging in an issue of climate smart agriculture for the past 2 days, with the initiations of for us to be able to actually make this short learning program successful and reaching out to all our stakeholders. That includes all the farmers, all the extension officers, and even the academics and all the NGOs, and those who are just also in the interest of learning in agriculture. So we have done that with the collaboration that we have with the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, and also with the Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries. And at UNISA, you have the UNISA enterprise, and you also have the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. So we together, we then did the initiatives and be able to put this workshop and have the program almost ready for you to be able to study forward. And the reason why we did this is because climate smart agriculture, it's one of the topics that it's actually coming much as a very important thing. And why is it important is because of, if you look at the climate change now, it's no longer as before when we know our crops. You know, if you plant spinach now, how it's gonna go. Now you find out there's more parasites, there is also drought, there's so many things that's coming into play because of the climate change. So for us to be able to coming up with some strategies or solution, we realize that if we take this climate smart agriculture approach, it will help us guide the action to transform the agriculture food system towards the green and the climate resilient practices. And that way, we hope that if we do so, it should be able to improve our productivity. And this course, it's in support with what has been done with all the SDGs around the globe. And these SDGs, their objective is sustainable, increasing agriculture productivity and income, and also adopting and building resilience to climate change. And also we hope that this will reduce or might also permanently remove, not really maybe permanently, but remove some of greenhouse gas emissions. And then we also doing this in support of our FAO strategic frameworks, the one that is for 2022 to 2031 goals based on the 4 pillars, which is better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life for all. And I think all of you agree with me that when we look at agriculture, we think about better production, we think about better nutrition. This is one of the things that a human being cannot overlook. Actually, it's supposed to be one of the most important things that we are supposed to be taught, even at high school when we just joined. Because why? It's something that we live by it every day. So agriculture, it's kind of like our daily practices. And doing this, it will always assist us in order to unpack the issue of local socioeconomics, environmental, and climate. I see you just moved. Okay, thank you so much. And climate change factors. So this SLP will cover climate change mitigation and adaptation strategies. And this will be done in livestock, and this will also be done in crop production, or others you can say plant, but when you say plant, it's in general, but mainly for us here, our main emphasis in crop production. And also to bring in some technology, which is what we're going to be discussing today about the technologies in terms of climate smart agriculture. If you can go to the next one. Okay, so this SRP is at NQF level 5, as I indicated yesterday. The NQF level 5 is at university first year level. So that's how we're offering this. And it's going to be 3 modules, which is that I indicated is livestock introduction to climate smart, for crop production, and also for livestock production, and also remote sensing practices. And for these modules, they would need about you to actually put aside 120 notion hours, and then study hours that you can do. It's about 12 credit per each module, which for the whole program is about 36. So all in all, you need about 360 notion hours to be able to study for this program. And who's supposed to actually attend this program, or who will benefit most, is all the professional from national, provincial, local in government or investment, agriculture, sector, with all kinds of sphere of agriculture sector, economic sector, that includes the agricultural economic sector, labor, environment departments, extension workers, farmers, professionals, association, and non-governmental organizations, and also the academics and other business representatives. Why we put the academics? Because we think there is much for us to learn for the academics, so that they can be able to transfer the knowledge also to the to our students as they're growing. As you have seen in the past 2 days, that we have so much of youngsters joining the farming industry, and that is so interesting, because that's what South Africa and Africa needs. So that's in a nutshell what we have and what we're planning to do. So today we're going to concentrate more into technologies, and these are the technologies that would help us to be able to produce better. And if we take note of this, I always say to people, don't look at the prices of technology. Sometimes when we look at the prices of the technology, we overlook the importance of the technology. And as I told you yesterday, this is more works in as a collaboration. If farmers collaborate themselves, this technology, they do not become obstacles at all. It becomes easy for us to do. And I believe that the government departments also, they would take it as their mandate to be able to make these technologies available. So today we have Dr. Odine, who's going to give us the overview and the course content of one of the module, which is the remote sensing. On Tuesday, you learn a lot about crop and about the land degradation, the soil issues. Yesterday, you learn about the issue of water scarcity in terms of livestock consumption, gas emissions, and all how we can better our productions. So today, please just pay attention on what can help you to better those production, either in crops and either also in life sciences. So I'm gonna immediately just give this to Dr. Odineo to give us the presentation for today. Thank you so much, colleagues.
Once more, thank you very much, Professor Olivia Mapoli. Over to you, Dr. Odineo.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, everyone. Welcome to the third day of the section. Okay, I think you can see me. So the first day, like we discussed, we spoke about the climate smart crop production. And then yesterday it was a climate smart livestock. And today we'll be talking about the use of remote sensing in climate smart agricultural practices. So for me, I feel like this module is kind of a synergy that combines both two aspects of our program. The one we did on Tuesday and yesterday, it combines them together in such a way that we have the application of remote sensing in crop production, in climate smart crop production. We also have it in climate smart livestock production. Okay, the purpose of the module will help the learner to understand and gain practical knowledge on basic remote sensing. It will give the learner access and how to use open source remote sensing data. Then the outcome, at the end of the day, candidates should be able to explain what are the basic principles of remote sensing. They should be able to know the different types of remote sensing techniques, the different application of remote sensing. They should be able to understand what is smart agriculture sensors, because these days everything is going smart. We have smartphone, we have smart village in Japan, we have smart city, everything is going smart. So it's the same thing in agriculture. Candidates should be able to understand what is a smart agriculture sensor. They should be able to understand the principle or what is a precision agriculture, and then the integration of precision agriculture into small scale farming. And I think that is the most important things that we need to understand. And then also the lesson will cover the introduction to remote sensing. It will also cover the basic principle of remote sensing, application of remote sensing, smart agriculture sensor, and then also we have to scale it down to small scale agriculture. So I have some slides here. I would like to to indulge your cravings so that you can actually see what exactly remote sensing talks about. We've talked about climate smart agriculture Tuesday and Wednesday. We've discussed the three pillars.
Sorry, Dr. Odineo.
Yes,
Can
sir.
I interject? You want to put your slides in a slide mode? Thank you very much, my doctor.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. So we talk about climate smart agriculture already. The three pillars of climate smart agriculture: the food security, the adaptation, and the mitigation. So all our teaching, it's been bordered towards these three pillars, and most importantly on adaptation strategies. Because when we talk about adaptation strategies to climate change, then we talk about the climate smart agriculture, which is an example of adaptation strategies. And that is where the remote sensing is coming in. So what do we understand by remote sensor? Because these are the part of the things that the module will cover, so that we understand before we register. And I know it's going to be interesting for us. So remote sensing is a process of obtaining information about objects like You don't have to get in contact with the object before you get information about the object. Say, for example, you want to get the height of a crop. You don't need to move closer to the crop before you can actually measure the height of your plant or the size of the crop, you know. So remote sensor it helps to collect large information in such a way that when you get the information, you process it as a farm manager or agribusiness personnel. When you get the information, you use it for decision making on the farm. So it helps for soil mapping as one of the most important things that we do on the farm, and many more. So there is evidence of remote sensing in agriculture, even though people think it's too expensive, but not that expensive because there are some few ones that can be used even in small scale farming. So remote sensing, we have evidence, and most of them are installed on the farm to measure temperature over time, maybe to measure soil and water in the soil, and many more. So I quickly want us to take us through some of the application of it or the benefit. So the benefit in livestock, most of the time in livestock, we can have a chip as an example of a remote sensor on the animal, like on the skin. So when the animal move to the field, or when they go to eat grasses on the other side, they can you can actually see their movement on the computer in such a way that you know if the animal is safe. If it is stolen, you know, you can see the movement. And that is part of the application. For example, I remember one time like that, one of my neighbor, she had a chip on a cat. So when the cat jump the balcony or go to wherever, she can actually monitor the cat on the system. So she will know if the cat is stolen or the cat is dead or whatever, you know. So sensor can provide animal farmers with it can provide the farmer with basic information that he will need, you know, to get information from the animal. Application of sensor in agriculture. For example, these are some of the sensors that there are a lot of them, but for the purpose of the presentation, we have to shorten them. For example, we have a soil moisture sensor, and what it does is to measure the soil water content in the soil. We have the radar sensor, we have the pH sensor, we have different different types of sensor, and they have different application on the farm. So I will take us through examples of some of these sensors, and then with the pictures. So for example, we have the time domain reflectometry sensor. What it does is that it measures the electrical conductor in the soil. As we all know that the soil there's a portion of the soil that contains electrical conductivity. So when you have this kind of a sensor, it can help you to detect the electrical conductivity of the soil. We have the tensiometer. The tensiometer, what it does, it's actually to measure the moisture content. It will tell you the amount of soil moisture, if your soil is moist or if it is dry. So this sensor can actually help you to detect that. So we also have the portable electrical conductivity sensor, and this one also can help you to measure the electrical conductivity and also the soil temperature. And some of these sensor or appliances, they are very easy to use. They are not complicated at all. For example, this is for the animal. When you put it on the animal, you can see the picture. You can actually see where the animals are. Maybe they are grazing on the other side of the field. You can see them, you can locate them. We have, this is an example of a drone. I think I have a better picture down here. This one is It's a deep water borehole sensor. You can actually use it to measure the water level. Maybe you have a borehole on the farm, and then you can actually use this to see the level of the water in the borehole. And also, these days we have the application of some apps on our smartphone in such a way that even though you don't have all this money to buy or some of these gadgets, but then you can still have your smartphone with some of these apps installed on the phone, and you can still make use of some of these apps. For example, you can have your GPS on the on your smartphone. It can tells you the direction, northwest, east side, or where the wind is coming from, depending on the nature of the app. GPS accelerometer. It's compatible with your Android or iOS. So all these are available on the smartphone, depending on which one you are actually looking for. So this is a picture of some apps that are compatible with smartphones. For example, we have the ArcGIS, and this one is for those that are interested in GIS settings. We have some for soil scouting. We have some from ARC developed that can be used for many things. And then also the application of precision agriculture. And then we want to look at the application of precision agriculture in a small scale settings. When we say precision agriculture, it actually involves the use of gadgets on the farm in such a way that you collect information and then you process the information to make an informed decision. Because everything we do on the farm is to make profit anyway. And how would you make profit? We need information to make profit. So precision is practiced by adopting analytical software and the use of technical equipment. So more and more small machineries are available for use these days, and it's a good news. For example, this is one of the apps developed in West Africa, and I think it's widely used in West Africa. They call it Elo Tractor. It's more or less like Uber or Taxify that we request. So this is an app whereby you can actually put information, send it, and then you need a tractor to come and do certain operations on the farm. And then you communicate with the person on the like through the app, give your locations and all that, and they will actually come to your farm to cultivate for you. So they call it Elo app, Elo Tractor. And I think this is also common in most developed countries like DoorDash in America and some other apps like that. So Elo Tractor, this is an example of a drone. We can use drone. Okay, what we can use drone for is mostly when you want to spray your farm. You can see the picture here that it contains it's like it has something like a water bottle, so to say, and then it has nozzle through the small fans that we see, and then you can control it to fly, just like when you use this kind of a camera, you know, that camera that can take the elevation of a certain area, you know, or of area overview. So you can actually use it and then you control it. So it can work like when we are using area spraying, like when you want to spray your farm and then you allow top dressing or you allow helicopter or aeroplane to fly across your farm and pour chemicals on the farm. So this can also be used like that, but you can't afford area dressing or area spraying, then you can actually use drone. And then you put the chemical inside the bottle there, and then you use the remote. It's like you are playing PS, you know, PS stations. So you can actually control it, and then it moves around the farm and it pours those chemicals on the farm. So you can spray with chemicals like spraying for insects. It can also be used as a fertigation. Like when we say fertigation, it actually means fertilizer in water. So there are some fertilizers that can dissolve in water, like your nitrate, especially when you have where you plant cabbage, and then after two months, and your cabbage needs more of a potassium nitrate to form the head, then you can actually use this, and then use your potassium nitrate inside water. You mix it, is a they call it fertigation, and then you can use drone to spray. Okay, this is a picture of the guy who is controlling it. You can use your app. If you install the drone app on your phone, you can control it on your phone, or you use the remote to control it. This one is called scouting gadget. When we say scouting simply means you scout for, like, you search for insects on the farm. So when you have this kind of a app, it can actually help you to scout for insects. And you know that your insect could be beneficiary insect or the dangerous insects. So once this app scouts some insects on your farm, it can tell you how many of them, or if there are many, and then what kind of insect is it? Is it beneficiary? For example, if you have a ladybird, like that beetle, you know, that insect, they call it ladybird. If you have it on the farm, especially where you are planting your spinach or leafy vegetables, you always see aphids. Aphids are those tiny ones, and they hide under the leaves, and they eat your leaves. They suck the nutrient from the leaves. So if you have the app, and then you can scout what kind of insect, if it is a beneficiary insect like your ladybird, you can leave it, because the ladybirds will feed on the aphids. But if it is a dangerous insect, this app can actually tells you what kind of insect. You can check information, and then you see the incidents, if there are many or not, then you take action. So this it's very useful. They call it scouting. We have a soil pH. Soil pH is also very easy to use. I've once used one of these, and then there are different types. That's why I put about 3 different on the slide. There is you see the probe. There is something called there is a sensor on the probe. The sensor is so small, like your bulb, a globe, a small bulb, and that is the sensor. So what happens is that you dip the probe, which has the sensor, into the soil, and then you secure your gadget, and then it takes the reading, because it's meant to take the soil pH. That's why they call it soil pH meter. So it will read the pH of the soil. For example, if the pH of the soil reads maybe let's say 6.2, or let's say 6, it will start to read, just like somebody is doing a high blood pressure test or kind of a thing. You know, at a time it start to pump, and then later it stopped, and then the doctor will tell you the readings. Exactly like this, it starts to show the readings, it shows, and then when it completes the reading, it stops and show you the figure. Like this one, it shows 6.2, it could be 7 point whatever. And then once you know the figure, it gives you an information. And that is what we were talking about as a sensor, because it gives you information without you doing anything about the soil. Now you have to take decision and interpret the data gives to you, and you make a decision. If it reads 6.5, we know that 6.5 is less acidic. And then you consider what you want to plant on the soil. If what you are planting on the soil requires more of acidic soil or less acidic, you will know if what you are planting is actually suitable or not. And you know that 7 is the neutral, soil pH neutral. Anything above 7 is more alkaline. Anything below 7, down becomes acidic. The lower you go, the range, the more acidic it becomes. That means 6 is acidic, but 5 is more it contains more acid. 4 contains more acid than 5. 3 contains more acid than 4. You know, something like that. So in that case, it gives you an idea to say, my soil is more acidic. What can I do? If maybe you need to treat the soil to lower the acidic content, probably you might need to add lime to the soil to lower the acidic content before you plant. So it gives you a kind of information. Now, all these are not like expensive in such a way that as a farmer that we cannot afford that. Okay, that is soil pH meter. Also, we have an example of a smart crop spraying tractor. You know, it doesn't have to be like that big spraying that we used to mount behind the tractor, and then somebody will be driving the tractor all around. You know, we can use a small spraying tractor whereby you can still get what you wanted to achieve. You know, you get it done on the farm. This one is a crop harvesting machine. It can also be used. You see, it's so small, they call it the mini crop harvesting machine. There are a lot of them, but we just have to take a little bit of pictures and to present. But when you register for the course, that's where you get to know a lot about some of these machines and gadgets in precision agriculture and sensors and all that. Okay, thank you so much. If you have any question, you can just put through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Odine, for the delivery. In as far as the technological space is concerned, and the various gadgets that can be used actually to enhance farming techniques. So I think without further ado, it is almost 20 to 10. So you've given us enough time actually to engage from the visual table. So what I'm going to do is, as per the norm, which has proven to be working very well for the past 2 days, I'm going to hand over to Prof. Mapoli to do the wrap up in as far as your presentation is concerned. And then immediately thereafter, we'll go into the questions and answers. I see there's a hand that's been raised by Mr. Solomon Molefe. Maybe, okay, let us go for it. We'll take it just like that. Then Prof. Mapoli can come in. Okay, over to you, Mr. Molefe.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I am a livestock farmer, and I would urgently want to implement these instruments that we've learned over the past 2 days. Of course, I don't want to do it blindly. And when I say blindly, I'm also cognizant of the financial constraints of my own enterprise. So how would one then go about to sustainably start the adaptation without necessarily digging one's financial grave, for a lack of a better word? Thank you.
Dr. Odine, over to you.
Okay, thank you. It's a good question. I know as a small scale farmers, capital might be, or finance might be challenged, but it's something that one we need to plan for, because I believe as a farmer, we are not just there to farm. We are like business personnel. Like I used to tell students when I do training to say, I'm not seeing you as a farmer, but I see you as agribusiness personnel. Every concept of conventional business, we also, as a farmer, we need to adopt it to make profit. If somebody out there doing a normal business can manage and find a means of buying, also we as a farmer, irrespective of how small, I know it could be challenging, we can actually source for funding, we can come up with a business idea or proposals, we can seek funding from AgriCita, Department of Agriculture, and then we can buy as small as possible. It does not necessarily mean we buy something big. For example, you are saying something like a livestock farmer. You know, in livestock, you might actually construct something on your farm, like a pen holder that can, like where you have your crop, and then from the gate of the crop, you can construct something like a pen holder, whereby your animal goes through that, and then it comes your animal together, and then you can actually use spraying like a dip, you know, to spray your animal, maybe for ticks, for some parasite on their body, you understand? Because you might not be able to use drone in this regard, except if you want to improvise, because the drones can actually pour some of these chemicals on your on the body of the animal, but then on the legs might not be that effective, unlike when you put the animal in a holding pens, and then you can use a drips, you know, to spray their, or you let them walk through a deep dam where the chemicals are inside, and then they walk through. So to answer to buttress more about your question, you can actually source for funding, get research, business proposals, and then you can actually take it from there. I know some of this thing might be a little bit not that too expensive, but that's the way to go. Like Prof was saying the other time, that when you think about how expensive it is, then you are depriving yourself of getting to make use of the importance of all these equipment. I hope I managed to answer your question. And then if Prof, doctors want to also add more, please, over to you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Dr. Odino. I think you literally covered a lot of aspect in terms of what he asked. One of my advice is, because being a small scale farmer, resources are very restricted, then we have to start with what matters the most. So if you're in livestock and your challenge is, I can't know where my livestock is at what time. So the advice will be, you need to start with the tracking devices so that you can know where they are. Even if you cannot, depending on how big your livestock is, you can just implement on few of them. So that will be a starting point. And obviously, if you are in doing dairy or milk, it's also very key, because in dairy, that is very key, because you don't want your livestock to walk for the longest time. If they walk for the longest time, the production of milk declines. So you will need gadgets like this to monitor them, and obviously heat sensors in where they're staying, so that you can know if you can implement a way of lowering the temperatures in the rooms.
So, sorry to interject, Dr. Malobane. Please show your face.
Oh, okay. Can you see me now? Okay, thank you. Yes, so I was saying it's more about Dr. Solomon. It's about what matters the most. Where can we start? Because sometimes we cannot start at once, and some of these things, as we have all alluded to, some will need collective interventions as small scale farmers in a certain area. It's the same thing if you need productions to go up. Not every farmer will be in a position to buy a bull that can bring such good production, but one can do and rent it to others. So this also requires such initiatives. But the question will be, what do you feel is the most important one for you, so that when you start there, the other ones can be a build up from there? And obviously, once that is also portrayed very well, like Dr. Odino said, we can also go to approach the departments on some of the small gadgets that are visible as small scale farmers. And one thing I love is, because for now, this was just a launch of introduction on many sensors, many practices. But for us to go into details about some of these things will require more time, and it's only visible when we go through the module itself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And let me just bring the camera. Thank you so much. And Dr. Odino, thank you for a wonderful presentation, and Dr. Malobane for adding it up, the information. So now you understand the technologies that are there. And I think he gave you the much more available one that I must tell you, drones are not really expensive. You can now get even a drone for 20,000. But that, and then you can then, as I think he explained to you, you can have drones for spraying your fertilizers. You can have drones for spraying your, the pesticides, and also to do your sample data collection. You can still use the drones. And now you even have the, I like actually now the new technology where it does the scouting of, to check on what insects that are in the farm. But what I want to bring you first before we get into that, it's sometimes I think the business into the farming industry, there are things that I think as academics we need to bring you up to speed in terms of understanding. And I'm going to just come back to when Mr. Solomon was saying that because as a farmer, you want to tap into this technology. As a livestock farmer, I always said to people, it's up to us how we protect our own livestock. And you know what, as a smallholder farmers, you farm in an open space and you're more likely to share the bull. I like the fact that Dr. Malumani was just saying now, or you can even rent the bull to each other. But here's the thing, when you are a livestock farmer, you know that stock theft in South Africa is a big issue. And how do you solve that yourself and making sure that your own animals are in a good space? You have to make sure you familiarize yourself with the issues of genetics and issues of like DNA technology. And those things are not really expensive. It's just that when you hear it, you think about technologies that are expensive. When it comes to smart agriculture, it's not all expensive. I'm gonna just give an indication. If you go to like ARC and you do your DNA testing for one of your animal, it's 150 Rand or 160 Rand per animal, and you don't have to do all. You need to do only certain animals. If you don't want to do that, you just collect the hair samples, you put them in a plastic bag, you just pull it and make sure as you pull the hair, you see the bag, there's a root, you put that in the envelope in your house. You don't need to put it in the fridge. You put it in the house. One day when your stock are stolen in this auction and you think these are your animals, the police guys will assist you to be able to compare the hair samples that you've taken maybe 10 years ago and the new samples as you see the animals at the auction. So those are the things that you as a farmer you need to just have to tap into. He talked about also using the devices in animals, and also the device that you can also use in the crop production. If you think about Thara, you don't have to have, if you have like 100 cattle or 100 goats or 100 sheep, you don't need to have a device in each of those. You need a device in either two or in one. That animal, as it moves, it shows you actually where it is. If there's an issue of stock theft at night, those devices these days, they have alarm. So the alarm will ring in your cell phone. And then as the alarm rings, then you have an idea of what is happening in your farm. So, and I was in Stellenbosch, I think 4 months ago, and because they had a problem with their sheep, and most of their rams, they're buying it very expensive. I mean, you would think if you're buying a ram of 120,000, you don't really want to lose that ram. And so what the farmers have been doing was how would they make sure that these rams are actually protected? So they in one area, they would put the device in the neck, and this device has no side effects because you put it outside, it's in the neck. You can even put the chip. There's good chips that now we have been really looking at the poaching in terms of the rhino poaching, what kind of chip that they can use so that at least as the animal is moving around, you can see there's a movement and you can be able to go and rescue it. So that's the same as in the livestock, in the wildlife. So it's the technologies that we need to actually tap into it and start to actually utilize those. These days also, if you have a challenge with your feeding, and you're looking, especially those for those animals that are in winter, you make sure that they graze in a certain, or you have like a smaller feedlot at your own farm where you can just feed them. you can actually now use buy feeders that actually already takes the data on how much water the animal consume, how much feed the animal consume. And those are much helpful as a farmer. And I know to the small farmers, it's not an easy thing. That's why I said, when it comes to a farming industry, you need to, in that specific area, if you are all in Gauteng, you need to find a way, and how do you find each other and discuss about these technologies, so that together you will say, okay, how do we come together and be able to apply for funding? There's a lot of funding there that's actually, as a smallholder farmer, you can actually leverage on. And I believe also with the government help, they should be able to assist you much better and come with that. In terms of commercial farmers, you find in the area, what they do normally, one farmer would own a drone that he can actually rent it out to other people. And then you can also buy the tractor where you can rent it to other people. So those are the things that together as a farmers, you need to actually be able to tap it in. Precision agriculture is something that it's coming along, and we cannot actually move away from it. The question is, how do we tap into this? And what I like with these technologies that are coming now, our devices, I mean, you don't have to have a very expensive phone. You just need to have a smartphone. Any smartphone that you can have. Then you can store your own data. You can actually monitor your animals while you are sitting at home. You can monitor your crops if there's any insects that they're dangerous for your crops. You can actually monitor that. And those are the things that as farmers, you need to tap into it. It works better and it gave you a better production. I like when he actually unpacked the issue of importance of checking your soil. And besides just the pH, the moisture of your soil, where you are, the level of water in the ground that you have. And those things are not really much expensive. And actually, I wish, what I would suggest actually when we give this course in depth is for the facilitators to actually get you the prices of these gadgets and also the prices for all these pH meters, so that you have an idea, because those are the things that you as a farmer yourself, you can just use your pH meter and then you go, you check, and then you look at, okay, I'm planting spinach here. Spinach will survive better. I gave an example yesterday of a farmer in Limpopo who actually plant the oranges trees, and after 2 years he lost almost everything. So you would have the opportunity or the advantage of actually knowing exactly what soil you have. And then I always said farming is not about more money when you start. It's about utilizing what you have, the smallest things that you have there. Are you looking after your animals in terms of your farming management, animal husbandry? Are you checking them if they are sick? Are you always utilizing the state vets? Because state vets are there. They're there to be utilized. There's also extension officer there. They're there to assist you with your farming. And I always said, if you call today, no one comes, you call tomorrow. I'm a persistent person. So if I need something, I'll always call until when I receive the help. And then also you have the ARC guys who actually goes around. I know that they have a scheme that called Counterfarts, where they come to your farms and they would actually collect the data. One thing that I hear from one of the business rep or a farmer yesterday was, we as a farmer, we should allow research coming to our farms, because if you don't allow that, that's where you're going to have so many challenges. You're not going to know the diseases that you're experiencing and how we can help you. But if you actually collaborate with academics, they will be able to assist you. Sometimes make your farm available for students to come and collect the data. As they collect the data, they will tell you what you have in the farm as a problem. Don't see students as they coming in at your farm as a challenge. Use them as your weapon to bring the knowledge in your farm. And that research actually is the thing that will make your farm be much more successful. So I think we just need to tap into this information. And I know this, like the government has funded the ARC to be able to collect the data all over South Africa. And those are the opportunities that you need to tap it in. Be part of those farms that they're collecting the data, because if they collect the data, when they do research, your farms is also included. Your crops are also included into that. So I would say here are the technologies, but it starts with us. How do we take it from there? And let's approach that positively in order for us to be able to actually benefit more. Godfrey, I would stop there and then I would open for the discussions.
Once more, thank you very much, Prof. Mapoli. Much appreciated. We're going to take this opportunity and take the questions from around the virtual table. Okay, I'm seeing the number, I'm seeing Nonhlanhla. So number 9084, over to you. And then immediately thereafter, Nonhlanhla, over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am. You're welcome. You can push
your
question.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Mojanaka, a postdoctoral fellow at UNISA. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who made this training possible. It was very informative, and I've learned a lot for the very past 3 days. My question is based on yesterday's presentation. Since blue tongue and Rift Valley fever are the 2 examples of the vector-borne diseases that can affect livestock due to environmental changes. And then such diseases, in case of disease outbreaks, they can have a very huge impact on the economy. I just want to know, how do we deal with such changes and uncertainty? Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Can I, Godfrey, can I just go ahead and answer here, and then we can take it as it comes?
All right, no, that is fine, because we had Nonhlanhla as well who raised their hand. So maybe if we can give Nonhlanhla the opportunity to ask the question, then we can respond to both.
Okay, go ahead, Nonhlanhla.
Thank you for having me. Actually, it's not a question. I'm enthused. I feel like I'm ready to graduate and go on the field and start working. Hence, I have this proposal that I don't know if through the enterprise, Godfrey, and whatever facilitation processes you have there, we can begin to have these smart pilot projects. I'm not a farmer, I don't own a farm, I don't own anything, but I'm just interested in these discussions and strategies that should flow from these discussions to actually make all these ideas and initiatives practical. So can we have a smart pilot project, continentally or wherever, you know, whatever is available and the funding would dictate. But I see UNISA Enterprise as a best platform to pull this together. We have the government, we have the farms out there owned by ESCOM, by Transnet. They're sitting and doing nothing. Can we tap into those? Can we have discussions and collaborations with government to support all of these initiatives? And can we have the supply chain opportunities? You know, put all of these nice technologies by Dr. Samuel, put everything there, and let's start producing, and let's start facilitating the logistics of all of this. And you know, maybe the students can even use these facilities, these smart pilot projects, you know, to test all their learning and to do whatever. But I am enthused. I wish I could wake up tomorrow and go there and start working or be part of this initiative. Thank you.
I must say, Ms. Nonhlanhla Mahlangu, you know, very much well received. And this is serving the purpose, the core purpose of this interaction as well. You know, each one teach one. And you just came up with a very brilliant suggestion to say, let's look at the smart pilot project. And I think, you know, as they would say, the taste of the, you know, you need to taste the pudding to know how it tastes like. So once more, thank you very much for that contribution. I think there will be some further engagement, you know, initiatives from our side with our partners. And those are the types of intelligence that we need to bring on board to make sure that this becomes a success. And as UNISA Enterprise, we're more than happy, willing, and ready to actually engage. I even have, like, you know, already, you know, thinking of the way forward in as far as maybe where we can have even, you know, a agri forum of some sort from this collective, and then obviously inviting other associations, agricultural associations on board, and you know, as a platform to share this type of, you know, experiences and knowledge as well as capabilities, you know. So without further ado, Prof. Mapoli, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. I actually also support that thinking of a smart pilot project. I think that's one of the things will keep us going and be able to monitor what we are teaching each other, actually, whatever that we have done for the past 2 days until today. So that is actually one of the things that we should think about, having the forums that we can have this discussion and utilize the empty spaces that are there to be able to pilot these kinds of projects. I want to go back to Dr. Managa for the issue of the disease outbreaks. So what I like, and I must tell you, with most of the African countries that I've visited, and especially now because we have been trying to find out on how to share the biological materials from livestock or wildlife around, even from plant sciences around Africa. And one of the things that I picked up is South Africa is actually doing well in terms of monitoring the diseases, because we're able to hotspot most of the areas that the farmers pose. The farmer would alert us, or there is something like that. And what I like also, and I should commend the farmers, because I must tell you, the farmers always, when they see something that it's a little bit different to what they always know, they always actually report that, and it goes direct to the veterinary service section in the Department of Agriculture. So that is, and they also, I think also we're utilizing more also the Department of Environmental Sciences. So that, I think, it's what actually so far has been saving us to be able to track down these diseases and how we can deal with it. What I also like, what we as academics, especially in agriculture, myself, I'm looking at research that deals with parasites. So the diseases that are outbreaks based on tick infestations, and how we can come up with, you know, that in the past years, the ARC has come up with a heart water disease, heart water vaccine. So now we want to come up with more vaccines, because based on the number of species of ticks that we have. So what we have done, we identified all the kinds of tick species that we have. Those are the most dangerous and most economical one that are harming severely to the livestock industry. And also, with also the foot and mouth disease, with also a part of the blue tongue disease, and also the nematodes infestation or internal parasite infestation. We're now tapping into those research and be able, the idea is to be able to advise the farmers. And what we do now, we're not just doing it in a lab based place. What we do, we go to the farms, what is normally happening when the animals are grazing, and we collect the data so that when we respond back to the farmer, we're responding back to the environment that they're farming in. So it's a matter of the health department, the animal health or the animal welfare, to actually utilize this information. But I would still say the only way where they can actually recognize this outbreak and deal with it, because what they do is the moment if they know, they would then start to advise the farmer and how you should treat it, and how often, like I can tell you with the dipping of animals in terms of the tick-borne vectors disease or tick-borne diseases, for that one, they would tell you that comes August, September, October, November, you need to start to engage on dipping your animals. And they even advise you in terms of the medication, the acaricides that you can use for you to be able to dip your animals. So that goes with all the internal parasites. When there's any outbreak, the vet that is in that area will normally come and advise. And if you guys, you can see as a farmer, and you let us know also as the academics, I mean at UNISA, we have also the mobile clinic that we in future, we're hoping to be able to assist those areas that the extension officer or the state vet are not able to do, like in terms when they have like an outbreak. We always come in handy and come and help, because we have the mobile clinic that we move it with, and then we can come to that area and do a lot of vaccination and assist. So reach out to the academics, reach out to the government, and when there's an outbreak, and they would be able to sort you out. The other thing in actually that I see that it's helping us a lot is, as they collect the areas where there's any hotspot or any outbreak, they actually make it aware to everyone. I mean, I was so pleased to know that, you know, when the typhoid actually just came in, immediately we were alerted, and so many people started to be conscious of the things that they're supposed to do in terms of water, what are the symptoms and things like that. That's what we do also with our livestock and our crops. We need to be alerted. There are devices that actually they can actually sense what kind of insects you have, the dangerous one and the good ones, and that is the technology that I was saying that let's also tap it into it and then be able to assist ourselves and improve in terms of production. Thank you so much.
Once more, thank you very much, Dr. Mapoli. Sorry, Professor Mapoli. Apologies for that. We're still open for questions. It is 10:08. We scheduled to end the session at 11 o'clock exactly. So I'm not too sure if there's any other questions from around the visual. Okay, I see Ms. Nomsa Molobye, over to you.
Thank you very much, Godfrey, for giving me this opportunity. My question is, seeing that there is more, people are encouraged to use these genetically modified seeds, and which are later dangerous to our health. So how are we going to curb that problem? Because those people have got monies and they are able to fund their programs. How do we fight back so that we reintroduce our own seeds that are safe and are able to multiply? Thank you.
Okay, Prof. Mapoli and team, over to you.
Yeah, and you're bringing, and I'm saying thank you so much for that, because you're bringing a very good question that we must actually engage better in terms of this. I always, maybe being an African, being South African, I'm so proud of what we had before, which we call it our indigenous.
Hello. Hello, may I please? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you so much for that question, and for us to be able to engage into this, because as a South African, and one of the things that I believe on is our indigenous crops, our indigenous cultivars, and our indigenous livestock. How do we find a way for them to produce in a way that they fit the market or commercial market standard? And I know that the reason why we actually getting into the genetic modified sometimes is because we want to produce sustainably in terms of something that quickly will go to the market and I would be able to have the income. And there's nothing wrong with those at all. I'm telling you as a genetics person, I always said there's nothing wrong with that. But what I always said is, what were we planting before? What is wrong with what we were planting? Don't forget that there is so much a market of organic crops, and there's so much market also for organic livestock meat or meat products. So those things, we are not throwing them out. And that is why yesterday, as part of my remarks, I said, think about the Nguni cattle that we have. If you think about the Nguni cattle, it is disease resistance or disease tolerance, if you put it that way, to parasite, the internal parasites, the external parasites like ticks and all other flies and things like that. Those animals, they can survive whether you leave them in Limpopo in a hush area. I mean, I know my area where we would grow up there would be farming and all that, but I can tell you those animals will survive because why? They are meant for this environment. They already, their genetic, it's already built up in a way that they can endure any challenge that is in this environment. But if the challenge with Nguni cattle, then it's the problem of small body frame, where it makes some farmer not to be interested in it because they worried already. But even if I farm with all this Nguni cattle, but what I'm benefiting in terms of meat, but we forgot that what you think about, somebody talked about stock density yesterday. And if you think about your small body frames animals and all that, you're more able to put more animals into there. And besides that, if you think about Nguni cattle themselves, when they're not big, they don't deposit fats. So your meat is much more also at a very good high quality because there's not so much of fat, and it is tender, it is juicy. You can sell it and still have a good much profit. Then on the other hand, there's a leather on it, which it then adds the value. The question is, what are you doing with that leather when you're done? And what you want to do is to protect your leather from the tick bites and all that. So let's also go back and say, yes, there are genetic modified products or cultivars or animals that we can use. But the question is, what happened with what you have now? Why would you want to move? Are you moving? Because there is a move based on the fact that now I want to build up my income just for my productivity to come better. And you do that, but you still keep your own original livestock or your other original cultivars. Like if you have the original spinach that you know it will need the 3 months to be able, or 2 months to be able to grow better and going to the market, and there is a genetic modified spinach that comes handy, then you know, okay, I'm not moving all totally to this, to the genetic modified, because yes, the genetic modified, the challenge is they're susceptible to most of the diseases, and you're gonna have to deal with that. And yes, they're not, sometimes then the environment that we have is not conducive for them, but sometimes also because research is growing so much, they are trying to actually modify them better to suit your standard and to suit your environment. So you think about genetics, don't think about modifying, because what they do sometimes is to bring you a better traits of whatever that you're planting or whatever that your livestock is all about. But you can still breed it back and go back to where you want to be, to a pure breed that you want, or to a pure cultivar that you want. So when you utilize this, see if, do I carry my whole farm to 100% to the exotic cultivars? Or do I still have my indigenous cultivars that I know they will give me 50% of the profit, and then I still have another 50% of the profit? So it's how you measure it as a farmer and how you can get away from that. And we're trying to actually educate you back to say, don't get rid of the indigenous plants, indigenous crops that we have, because they're still also much more useful, and they will grow without you using any pesticide. They will grow without you wanting more water and things like that, because they're already made for that environment that you are there. So that is something that we as a researcher, we're trying to prove, so that you go back, so that we eliminate on using most of the foreign cultivars or foreign agriculture products, for us to be able to sustain our own food security. Thank you so much. And I think Malobane wanted to just add for me on that one.
Okay.
Or Dr. Odine will do so also.
Okay. My take about the question is not all genetic modified traits or cultivars are bad, because just like Prof said, over time, they are trying to modify to suit what can adapt, or what we can adapt to in our environment. But I will leave you with this. The whole essence of whatever we do in agriculture is to farm sustainably. And I think people don't really understand that word sustainable farming, because they might think to say, oh, sustainable is just to farm to get food. No, sustainable farming actually talks about three major important aspects. And that is the bottom line of whatever we are doing in agriculture. It talks about healthy food. And that is where yes?
You want to switch on your video? Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Mm.
So there are three aspects of sustainable farming. And then the first one talks about healthy food. And that is why the issue of food sovereignty was being raised on Tuesday, to say whatever we do, we want to produce a healthy food for the people. The second one, we want to make profit as a farmer. That one is sure. And the third one is we want to farm in such a way that we don't damage the environment. Okay. If you are farming and then you are not be able to achieve any of these three, then we are doing it wrongly. Like in the case of conventional farming, whereby the farmer is only trying to make profit, is not considering the environmental impact, whereby they use a lot of chemicals and destroy the soils and and all that, or probably they are not producing healthy food, then that is not the way. So the whole essence of our farming or our meetings or whatever we do in agriculture is to farm sustainably in such a way that we accommodate all these three elements together. So I still believe there are some cultivars out there. Maybe because of research, you find out that some cultivars are maybe better than indigenous in a way, or there are a mixture, exotic breed in such a way that they blend the indigenous and the alien plants, they breed them together to suit our environment. So I think you can look for such cultivar that you can actually plant in such a way that it's not that totally modify in such a way that it doesn't provide good health. I mean, when you eat, like it destroys health, you understand? Because every now and then the research it's being modified, research is extending. So researchers are also aware of all this. So not all modified seeds are not good for health. And that's why people advertise or they advocate for organic. If you feel like organic is the way for you to go, you can go for it. But it's expensive also for people, because it's more or less like you are targeting a certain set of people. Just like you are buying food from Woolworths. Not everybody go to Woolworths. They rather go to other shops. And other shops might buy theirs from maybe a conventional farming or farmers, whereby they use chemicals and all that. So it's about weighing the options. But what I will leave you with is think of sustainable farming, and then not all cultivars are that bad that it can cause damage to human health. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Doc. Can I? Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doc. I think I'll hand over to you, Dr. Malobane. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Godfrey. And the question posed, I think I'll just start with the one Doc posed earlier about the blue tongue. I know that there are people who are also doing research in terms of spatial distribution of specific diseases. I know I have a friend who's at ARC. She's literally doing a PhD in that if there is an outbreak, obviously after everything is controlled, they go and collect the data that was reported, where it came from, how it spread, all of those, and draw maps to try to come with ways of saying, if it's more prevalent in this area, what could have been driving conditions to help with that. That is more of science than what our farmers can do, but there's maps, they develop maps. I know the friend of mine, she's working on the rabbit disease, that they know how it's spreading because they try to see if it's prevalent in Bloemfontein or in Limpopo, what are the driving environmental conditions, and come with correlations to see how they can better deal with it in future, which is part of remote sensing, because they just do maps in the office. So the other one about GMOs, I know there's a concern about GMOs that is out there. There's obviously there are groups that advocate for GMOs. There are groups that are saying they're not good, they're bad for our health. And it's also a good thing that our scientists nowadays, they are aware of that, and we trying to go back to conventional breeding, where you're just taking the pure breeds and you breed them with the wild breeds so that they can give you, because the wild breeds in terms of crops, they are, or what we call indigenous crops, they are more, they can withstand a lot of environmental conditions, especially harsh environmental conditions, whether it be drought, they can withstand it. But the purpose of GMOs is literally to sustain production of food security in hard conditions. For example, we know there's armyworms and the BT maize that's out there so that it can withstand the armyworms or the worms or stalk borer in general. But the science is aware that's one thing I just want to affirm to you, that now most scientists are going back to developing purebreds and then breed them with the wild breeds, so that you have a crop that just took its genetical makeup from the parent material that was in the wild long time ago. And one of the good thing is most of these wild breeds, they're also, in terms of nutrients, they are good. I think breeding at a certain point decided to chase yields without anything. We know people will say you must eat green or clean. You might find that you're eating a lettuce that is good, that is big, but in terms of nutritional content, it's low. You just have volume or biomass. So that is one thing that colleagues that are sitting on this virtual table should be aware, that science is going back to breeding, to conventional breeding, where you're just taking what you have, make it pure, like what Prof said, then you breed with something that is there in the same family. It's whether it could be in breeding, could be regarded as a grandparent or a wild species within the same class, so that survival can be there. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Malobane, and thank you so much also, Odineo. I think, yeah, you just also unpack it so nicely that it's us looking at what is sustainable and what we have and the nutrition of what we want. So as we embrace what we have, let's also tap into what these other things are bringing in. And as I told you, it's a pure breeding. You cross, you breed back. And I think one thing that I see with the farmers that sometimes it works against them is because I see a lot of farmers. Today somebody said this breed is very good, and then they buy, and then they breed it this year. Next year somebody comes and say this breed is very good, and then they also move. And I think it's because of the information that has been displayed to us often and every time make us to change. And farming does not need that. Farming, it needs you to be grounded of what you have and try to find a solution of what you have. So then it becomes much more easy to be able to breed better. And if really we tap into this thing, or what we have previously was good, but yes, would it produce more to feed the population that we have in the country or within the continent? But if then that's the case, if we wanted to increase, how do we utilize what we have with this new cultivars that are brought in and breed it back? And as you do that, your agriculture becomes much more sustainable. And please be grounded as a business person, especially as a farmer, because your soil sometimes won't take it. If today is this cultivar, tomorrow is this cultivar, you need to be so sure of what you're farming about. Both goes to livestock. If you bring in a bull in a farm today that is a Nguni bull or that's a Angus bull, because I know that a lot of people, and we've seen that, we have done a study, a lot of the smallholder farmers, they are breed composites. It's a composite because we don't know what it is. It actually includes the Anguni, it includes the Angus, it includes the Herefords, it includes Brahman. So there's so many of crossbreeding that actually it makes your stock at the end being not a good stock. So as you start to be a farmer, identify what you want to farm with. And as you go on and you want to tap into research and explore much better, either you want to produce more milk, then you know what breed do you need to focus on. If you want to produce more meat, you know, okay, if I'm going to crossbreed this, how do I breed it back and keep the stock of what they actually produce, the better meat? So the grounding is such much important for us to be sustainable. Thank you so much. I see the hand of Aaron. Esron, you can go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Over to you, Ezra. Thank you, Professor.
Morning, Godfrey.
Good morning, Ezra. Good to have.
Yes, thanks, Godfrey. I've joined you since the beginning of the program, day 1, day 2, and today. And I must appreciate that at least the second day and today, they've been very helpful because as we are farming in Mankweng, it's a communal land of 10 hectares. And we're dealing with crop production. We've been in that space almost 5 years now. So, and I think, hence I'm saying day 2 and 3, they've been very helpful because in as much as it's agriculture, but it's different space. And I want to ask a question on climate smart agriculture, on 2 things that have been bugging me. Is on early warnings. When we say we need to have a climate agriculture that will be able to detect and give us early warnings, when will be early warnings, and when will be an alert, and when it's an emergency? Because I have observed over time in the country, we also always receive news when it is bad and bad. You see at the Northern Cape, but then you still get agricultural practitioners telling us that those are early warnings when it is an emergency. So I want the CSA to really say, explain. So when I will say when it's an early warning, when it's an alert, when it's an emergency. And the other one is on the Nguni as a traditional African cattle, because nations of the world, they will always do what we call comparative advantage. You promote what you have at advantage and run with it. And I think that has been what is lacking in the country, because this as an indigenous African cow, we should be saying how to then promote it in a manner that it fits into the market. Because one of the things that Professor Malovan had said, there are benefits with Nguni cattle. For instance, it's lean meat alone is enough for business to say how to then put more resources to encourage those that are on a healthy lifestyle to say this is what it can offer as a lean meat, those that are looking for weight loss, so that you put more. Because if
sorry, Ezram. Ezram.
Yes.
Sorry, Ezram.
Hello.
Ezram, please show your face.
Okay, okay. My phone has been refusing. I've been trying to do that from when I started. I don't know what's the problem. Yeah, do you see my face now? Yeah. So
Yes, we can.
yeah, so to say that how to then, because it's a lean meat, how to then ensure that we produce it alongside. I know that it will be expensive for people that are not having enough to buy, but then you can say concerted effort to say let's have it as a lean meat that will occupy a particular niche market or LSM. And then another thing was also to say, okay, fine, if it's not, we can now do crossbreeding, where we know that when you crossbreed in Guni with Brahman, there are results, with Angas, there are results, so that we don't necessarily dump it as or leave it, say, no, it's lean, because what I see normally, you only see it when it is taken to auction, and then when they have been auctioned, later on it will be taken to Manyalo Mahu. So, and that business is very limited. How to then create a more sustainable business for such thing? And another thing, the last one will be on the as a crop farmer. The machines that, particularly with the today's presentation, at what size and shape? Because like I said, I have a 10 hectare farm, and the machine that have been promoted or we've been taught about are literally small. How do I then maximize with such? In as much as having a tractor is not going to be beneficial for me, because already it's expensive to have a tractor. Like we've outsourced, we have local people owning them to come and plow for us, because your plow you keep it does not work, and with tractors, when you want to start again, it's another expense that we all know. So how do then, where does it work? Some of these technologies that we have, that some of these interventions, see, if you have a tractor that sprays, at what level, at what size and space and hectareage will be able to maximize? Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm not sure if Dr. Samuel, do you want to take some of the question, Prof, the breeding part?
You can go ahead first.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Ezra. So in terms of, I'm just going to look at the issue of early warnings. It's what is early disaster and other. You see, if there is any climatic condition or there's a storm that's coming, and we are warned to be careful that there's a storm, maybe it's developing in Mozambique, it's coming, for this example, just say it's coming to South Africa, we need to be ready that it might hit us anytime. Those are part of early warnings, because if you have your livestock out there, some of these early warnings are from insurances. Whether you have livestock out there, they will tell you rains are coming, or they in the area you're seated, there is hail that will come. So make sure that you move your livestock from wherever they are to a safe and secured location. Those are the early warnings that Dr. Nesengani was talking about, that you might get, and it's the same thing with crop production. I'm not sure if there's anyone from Extension Office or Advisory Office services here, that I know that they share maps that what to expect if there's El Nino or La Nino in a given year. They also show these other maps. I'm not sure if they're explained in detail of what you might have as a warning for that year or for that season, that we might expect drought in the next few months. So obviously the idea is just arrange, or might have heat waves as part of early warning information, so that be ready and get water for your livestock. Those are the other things. But once it hits, obviously that is disaster now. It's emergency now. And sometimes with communication, we might miss the early warnings, and we end up seeing the disaster part of it. But I also believe it's the relationship between, like what Prof. Antti was saying yesterday, that if we get a relationship between the universities, stakeholders, the advisory or extension offices, and farmers to be very joined, it's easy to share information of what's coming, so that farmers could be alerted before time. So that, I think that is also something that we're still missing. This research is sitting somewhere, an extension is sitting somewhere, but I believe with time we will be in a position to bridge that space or gap, so that we can collectively work, that our science done at a local level can inform our farmers on how to farm in a good way. In terms of crop production and technologies, one of the emphasis Dr. Samuel gave today is this for this launch, we're just going to show specific instruments or tractors or technologies that are viable to a certain extent in a small scale farm. But if you have 10 hectares of land, I'm not sure if that's the right number, but I felt like you said 10. But I'm not sure if it's 10 or it's 10,000, but I know there's 10 ends. But you literally, drones, the nice thing about drones is they can be calibrated. It doesn't mean it's supposed to be very big. You can refill it. If you're spraying, it can, you know that there's calibrations. It can spray a certain area, then you put it down, you fill it again, then it goes until it finishes. That is about spraying. But some equipment, because now there'll be efficiency, which is time, that the bigger ones could do things quicker, but if they are expensive, the smaller ones can still do the same work, but it might take more time. That's why the emphasis goes down to, once you enroll in the module, we will unpack some of these things into details, because for now time is limited. We can't literally unpack everything at once. For the breedings, I will ask Prof to comment, and Dr. Samuel can also add on what I just gave. Thanks.
Okay.
Great. Oh, go ahead, someone.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I think I'll comment on two. Okay, especially for the crop production you were talking about, it's kind of a tricky to advise what you might likely need to do, especially with a 10 hectares. Remember when we were talking about youth, because the question is, it's more like a profit maximization and efficiency. So from the economic aspect of view, your efficiency and effectiveness comes together to equal to your profit maximization. And when you look at the marginal utility, it has to be equal all together. So I would suggest, just like Dr. Madubani said, you can try drone. At least it can still, it will just be a matter of time to, you know, in terms of effectiveness, you are fine, but efficiency in terms of time, probably you might not just have it maybe in 20 minutes, just like when you allow your area spray to move across your farm in 10 minutes, 10 hectares. You can get the whole farm being sprayed with your pesticide or fertigation or chemicals. So you can start as a smallholder farmers, you can start with drones. You can do it, and when it's finished, you refill it again. By the time you do it in a day or 2 days, you should be able to cover the whole 10 hectares. Or you can try some of these practices that we discussed today. I mean, we've been discussing for the whole three days, like your conservation agriculture, in such a way that you might not need more of your pesticides and all that. You can do crop rotations, you can do a lot of things. And then if you also want to include a new, like some of this technology, use drones, or you can switch to kind of a tunnels, whereby you have maybe 2 or 3 tunnels, and there are a lot of things you can do. But to advise accordingly, we need to know or register for the course, get to know few informations, so that we don't advise wrongly. But with the few that we said, I think you should be able to get something, to get started. You spoke about the breeds, the Unguni. I think we start with awareness. Just like Prof said the other time, there are a lot of information out there. Today it's Angus, people go for it. Tomorrow they tell you, no, it's Brahmans, you go for it. It's about awareness, to know what exactly the Unguni cattle can do, what are the advantages, how can we promote it. So this also goes to some of our extension officers or advisory. We can actually help farmers to give them the right information, so that they can actually promote, the breeding of Ungunis. So yeah, I think that's what I have to say. Over to you, Prof.
Great. I think you covered more of what I would have done. And just to add, I would just only add on the Nguni breed, or maybe let me put it as like the indigenous breeds that we talk about, as we said, or how do we start now to promote it? And Esron, thank you so much for bringing in that question, because it's up to us if we want this breed to die or to sustain us for the generations to come. And as much as it's a very good breed and it can be everywhere, I think everywhere in South Africa where I went, I've been seeing Nguni. And the good thing is I can tell you with the practical experience that I've done with Nguni, because the idea is to promote Nguni going back to the farmers, and for the farmers to be able to have their own pure Nguni breeds, but breed them in a way that they are selected better. So I'm going to just say that selection, it doesn't mean all crossbreeding. We can even select Nguni as a pure breed, but better bulls of Nguni. And they are very good bulls that their offsprings grow better to the market, and it does sell well. But what you see normally in your smallholder farmers, you're seeing the smaller bulls that because also it goes with the price. But if you go up to the market, you'll see that they're better bulls that you can actually utilize the semen, and you buy semens and then you use that. And then, so if we were to relook, and I think if government comes in and say, how do we conserve the Nguni breed and be able to sustainable breed it and with a good production, even if we're to consider crossing it just to improve the body frame, sometimes it's easier to cross a Nguni with Angus. But immediately when you get that F1, you need to either intercross it to just again build up in terms of frame. But after that, you need to cross it back to Nguni. So if you cross it back to Nguni, in the next 5 years, or in the next 4 years, you're gonna go back to either you start with 75% because you start with 50%, 75%, 80%, 93%. You won't get exactly to 100%, but as you go, it goes back to you to the purebred that you of the Nguni that you want. But you would have actually the body frame improved, and you would still have the resistance to all these parasites and all that. So in the study that we did, we crossed the Nguni, we got the Nguni F1, and the body frame was better. It's not as big, so don't expect a bigger frame of Nguni. It's not as big, but it brings a better frame. And in that, what we did also, we intercross. When we intercross them, we realized that you reduce a lot of fats, and you bringing in also what the Nguni has. So if you have that normal cross and you intercross it, then now when you intercross it genetically, we have like 3 genotypes, and those 3 genotypes are the ones that you would want to use. You choose one. You have to choose one based on how it does. So if you choose one that is more related to Nguni, it breed backs very nicely. But if you go to a very good stud farmers that are selling good bulls of Nguni or semen of Nguni bulls, you can actually breed better without even doing also the crossbreeding. So that is the talks that actually previously the government was into how to improve Nguni. But I see now it's more a little bit quiet. And I think as farmers, as you guys, you raise your voice, and as also as researchers and academics, we raise the voice, we can actually go back because all you need is, are you want to breed to produce better meat, or you want to breed to have a bigger frame and or want to have a more milk? But at the end of the day, is that milk has nutrients that you want? Is that bigger frame body has a nutrients that you want? Or protein that you want? Is that small body frame has the good also the good protein that you want? If we can actually identify it well, it will help better to identify a specific niche market. I've also looked when they were doing the Nguni cattle. I've also seen what actually retail stores are coming forward to say, if you can produce as much, we can assist you. And I think it's a matter of working together, and it starts with awareness. I always forgot the picture, sorry. It's also with us, as like we work with, we do awareness, and we go out there to the business people and say, this is what we also thinking. As the retail store managers, they look at what we produce, they become interested. But it's a question of, are we marketing ourselves? Are we engaging? And this kind of platform, Smart Pilot Project, I think it should actually answer that, because if we can get back to the roots, what are we farming with? How do we then assist? Because if we go to the scientific, it's going to take us long. But as we get in to the modules, what I'm going to do when we started to offer these modules is to also invite the veterinary session, and we're going to also invite some of the government guys to be able to come and talk to you about the early warnings, and when the disease is already outbreak, what do they do and how do they carry over? Because it's your data. Again, I would say it's you informing the government that I can see something it's not right with my animals or with my crops. And then the next thing is, as they come, they collect that data, and then they make other people to be aware. And at the end, we as a researcher, we analyze that data. We analyze what causes that outbreak, and then we'll be able to translate back. I think what we're missing a lot is what the academics translate back to the farmers. I think we are not going back and telling you exactly what we find and how you should proceed going forward. And I think that is something that we should actually tap it into in this Smart Pilot Project or Agri Forum that we're gonna have. Thank you so much. And Godfrey, I think we also thought, or we would have the department to just bring in their views maybe before we take any other questions.
Once more, thank you very much, colleagues. Much appreciated. It is now 10 minutes to 11. I think we're doing very well in as far as time is concerned. We're going to take this opportunity and hand over to our partners. Dr. Janita Badul, if you can just take us through, the high-level overview of the proceedings and, any other initiatives from the Department of Environment, Forest and Fisheries, and, the bigger picture in as far as the way forward is concerned, and so that we can, and the wrap up as well from your side will be highly appreciated in your closing remarks. So thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Badul.
Thank you so much for that brief introduction and providing me with an opportunity to say a few last words on behalf of the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment.
Dr. Badul, you want to switch on your camera? We're also live on Facebook. Thanks.
Okay, so I am connecting via my phone, and I'm just wondering whether the service provider will be able to activate the camera. Hello?
I think in as far as the mechanics are concerned, only from your side you should be able to switch the camera on. But let's see if we can. Mr. Mulubi, are we able to switch?
Yes, I've just made a co-host so she can share the video.
How about you, Dr. Badul? Yes, Dr. Badul, it's fine. Now you can unmute your mic as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Once again, thank you so much, Program Director, for providing us with the opportunity to say a few last words on behalf of the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. We certainly, over the past 2 days, including today's session, training possible. So most appreciate and knowledge from the Climate Smart Agriculture training. Now, with reference to, what is the next step with regard to the training itself and the program, the Switch Africa Green program. Unfortunately, the program does end at the end of December this year. Nonetheless, I think Godfrey, you are probably going to be providing some next steps one prior to terminating the session with regard to the courses or the modules which UNISA will be offering going forward. And we are quite pleased to note that UNISA has taken this bold step to offer the training, in the medium to long term, and has embraced it completely, even though we initially envisaged just a 3-day training workshop. So congrats to you on taking this bold step and embracing the training which you will be offering in the future through UNISA. Secondly, I think I have indicated in my opening remarks that we certainly enjoyed the partnership that we've had with the European Union as well as UNEP and UNITA, who's made this possible as well. Definitely having the other Switch Africa Green countries invited to partake in the training was an added value, as climate smart agriculture is equally pertinent in all of the other African countries on the continent. And I think, going forward, the participants are also welcome to visit the department's website and download the Climate Smart Agriculture Guideline. In addition to that, with regard to formal training, as I indicated, UNISA will be offering the modules going forward. So, there's opportunity and room for expansion in this regard. And let me stop here. Maybe there are certain a number of participants who may have some questions which they'd like to raise as well. Thanks.
Once more, thank you very much, Dr. Badul. Members from the floor, any questions directly to the department, or any input suggestions maybe they would like to put forth? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I see Pulani Masebe, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for extending the invitation to us. As you may know, that we are not necessarily sector experts within the Department of Small Business, but this has been a very informative session. And I also would like to commit our department to say, when you decide on having a pilot project, particularly for small scale farming, please do invite us so that we can understand exactly the objectives and what support measures can the department put in place to support those small scale farmers. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution, Ms. Pulani Masebe, much appreciated. Any other question from the visual table across the globe? Once more, Dr. Janita Badul, thank you very much, much appreciated. Okay, there's Dr. Mapoli. Dr. Mapoli, over to you. Professor Mapoli, over to you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Badu, I just needed to ask you one question, or after you have seen this attendance and this interest for this workshop that you have worked hard actually assisting us to be able to put this together. What are the things that you see your department maybe assisting into the delegates or the candidate who would want to go forward with the course? What are the things that you see you may be able to, I'm not saying that pledge it, I'm saying, or do you see your department maybe coming to party in terms of seeing what are the best way forward to be able to assist the farmers with the knowledge to be able to take the course going forward, something like that?
Thank you for that. So just a quick response through you, Program Director. Pulani, thank you so much for joining in, as well as the colleagues from the DSBD. We actually did have an implementation component to the program, which was concluded in June last year. And the focus at that through the implementation of the projects was to capacitate farmers. And we targeted subsistence farmers. We also tried to facilitate through the program access to markets, etc. So, for example, the work that has been covered through the CSA training over the 3 days, including, for example, soil testing, etc. These actual activities were undertaken with the select number of farmers in seven of the 9 provinces. So that particular aspect has been concluded through the program. Now, coming to how else can the department support the process? Unfortunately, as I indicated early on, we were in phase 2 of the Switch Africa Green Program, and it is concluding in December this year. So trying to extend the program beyond it, the intention is to actually ensure that there's some sustainability element attached to it. And UNISA has definitely played this role by coming to the table and embracing it, as I indicated earlier on, by offering these modules going forward. And I think it's now up to the individual, after having given them a taste of what CSA is about over the 3 days, to entice them into taking these dedicated modules that will be provided and enhancing as well as advancing their knowledge in the space. But over and above that, the Department of Agriculture is definitely the primary custodian of driving these related issues in the country. However, through the branch climate change and equality within the department, we also provide some oversight on the framework thereof. So there are other related adaptation activities within the department, but not necessarily related directly to this, the nature of this type of training intervention. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Badul, for the feedback. I take it that, as we've already indicated, this is the beginning of, or the continuation and the beginning for the new members and participants who joined. Surely going forward, we can actually formulate some measures to make sure that there's that continued sustainability and support. And rightfully so, as you've mentioned, that the Department of Agriculture is the primary custodian of everything agri-related. We really appreciate that. So it gets us thinking to say, projectively speaking from here, what is it that we will do? But once more, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Hi. Hello.
Okay, go for it.
Hi, sorry. Sorry I missed the past 2 days. And I don't know if ever my question was asked, whatever. I want to find out if you do have a list of funders that can assist us as small business, small farmers, so that we can apply on them. Do you have such a thing, a list of funders that that are assisting small farmers like ourselves? That's my question.
Teresa, thank you for that question. Unfortunately, we don't have such a list. The interventions that we do put in place, it's through international partnerships, formulating what the program of work would be and these different programs and sub activities that the program will deliver on. This is how we have afforded the opportunity to extend certain pilot initiatives on the ground.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome, ma'am. But maybe as an addition over and above that, we said this is an opportunity for us as well to create a networking platform, with all the participants on board. So I think that going forward, those are some of the things that we would need to look into and address, as key enablers to ensure that, as small-scale farmers, medium-scale farmers, you're being properly capacitated. So I think jointly as well, we would be able to explore, available grants from various, FDIs and so forth. I think that is what we need to look at. Actually, it is not something that now, because you've asked, now we will live as is like that. No. So what we're going to do is we will take that initiative based on the, the smart pilot project or the agri forum of some sort that would emanate from this, and then to go and assist in knocking at doors. I think there's a variety of experts from within the agribusiness space, from your agricultural economists and all those people who can come on board and assist with various business cases and plans to make sure that we get that assistance. And surely there should be some private investors, international investors, and our very own search. Is the whole question of revisiting our strategic plans from the South African government perspective as well. But yes, that is what I think we need to look at. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Yes.
Thanks, Godfrey. Why I was asking is because, talking from experience, and many of the poultry farmers have shut down because the chicken feed was just too high that we couldn't afford. Thank you.
You're more than welcome, ma'am. Any other question? It is 4 minutes past 11 sharp, so maybe we can take 2 more questions. And yes, then I will hand over to Prof. Mapoli hereafter to do the wrap up. And then from there, those would be our closing remarks, then we would adjourn. I know that it's been a very quick 3 days, a very engaging, fruitful session. I know, we don't want the good things to come to an end, but like we said, this is just the beginning. So any other question from around the virtual table?
Yes, Mr. Godfrey.
Okay, over to you, sir.
Good morning. Sorry, I was unable to raise my hand so that you can see. So, but very quickly, so I'm representing a a group of organized farmers and plot owners north of Pretoria in Winterveld. We basically organized in 4 different cooperatives in stock farming, crop farming, in poultry, as in layers, as well as broilers. The question, I just want to make a comment in that we've listened over the past 2 days. We appreciate what has been shared. I think what we find as priorities on our side, which I've been listening closely to see if we are able to get, is really access to market. We've got land. Land is not an issue for us. We've got sufficient land in the area. We've started some farming, but the 2 things is access to market in terms of offtake agreements for the things that we are trying to do, and offtake agreements really will help us to grow. And secondly, obviously, I think the lady that has just mentioned is some bridging finance to be able to grow from point A to point B, in terms of working the land. So what we can be able to do is that we do ask that if there are some there is additional information in future that can relate to basically being able to assist us in the way that we are organized, to be able to move from subsistence to semi-commercial in terms of funding and access to market. We really would be able to appreciate that, and also to offer our organizations to be able to get you guys to translate the information to us. Then we can be able to leave our contacts to yourselves, so that we can be able to engage in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makupela. Well noted. As we said, this will be some of those key initiatives that we would take forward. We know that there is an organization that specializes with, the route to market and facilitation of such deals. So in that forum, that is where we will share all that type of information. There is such an organization that assists with, the offtakes. But obviously, there are certain specifications I would know that would have to be met, when it comes to quality standards. But I think then again, there will be interventions to assist in as far as that's concerned. So without further ado, maybe if we can take another last question from the floor, then I'll hand over to Prof. Mapoli to do the wrap up so that we can adjourn. Thanks. Oh, okay, Prof. Mapoli, over to you for a wrap so that we can adjourn.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And well, what a fruitful 3 days workshop. It's so exciting actually to see how people engaged. And I should first say thank you, Godfrey, for leading us all the past 3 days. You have done a very good job on time. And I know today you just decided to give us this next 10 minutes so that because it's our last day, but for the past few days, really, you have been done a very good job in terms of the timekeeping and managing as well. So we thank you so much for that leadership. We'll always appreciate that. And then I would also like to thank the facilitators or the instructors from the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences for actually going through those manuals, preparing the PowerPoints that we have today, and also be able to answer most of the questions that the candidates and all of us were asking, and be able to get a very good answers for in the agriculture space. So I really thank you guys for that, and very good, well job done. Easy things that I can understand. I can see now that most of the farmer or the agriculture business colleagues, they've actually grab some that things that they're gonna go back and use that to be able to grow forward. And also in terms of just giving the way forward, in terms of what we're gonna do now in terms of this short learning course, we on the last stage of the university approving it to be able to go out to the market. So soon as the SLP or the short learning program is ready, you will see it on UNISA adverts. It will be then be advertised. I think we're gonna also put it also on the website of DEFF. I think they did say we can be able to send them so that when it's ready to be offered, they can also do the awareness or market it in our side. And also, as Godfrey, I like what he said, Ori. After we had all this workshop and understand what is your need and what is there, what is needed, and how do we handle the issue of climate smart agriculture. Godfrey has just alerted you guys that we are engaging with other stakeholders. We are engaging with the business people. We are engaging with the relevant also department to try to find a meaningful way on how we can assist you as a farmers, either in terms of attending the training in full, or also in your own spaces in terms of your farming. And I always believe that once you become a smallholder farmer, you need to become an emerging farmer and then a commercial farmer. It's a must because you have to be somebody who's growing in terms of farming. And there is so much, I think, that we have learned a lot here in terms of technology, in terms of what needs to be done in the farming industry, and as a farmer, what you need to look out for and information. And we're not saying that today we're going to close our doors. So whether you're going to be attending the training going forward or not, if you give us a call, or if you need any information, we're still available to be able to give you any advice. I think we do that much often in any farmers that always comes, we open the doors for that. So it does not end up here. And, you know, I always said, even in the provinces where you are, the universities where they are around you, go there, find the academics who are working in this field so that they advise you much better, and also so that you can grow your business better. So in terms of the training, soon as it's out there, we would inform everyone. I think forming this agri forum or the smart pilot project, it would actually give us a very good visibility to you guys. What is the way forward? When is the course it's starting? How much it costs and things like that. And hopefully, because farming is much more important in South Africa, we may also find some funding to be able to sponsor people. I'm hoping so. I do not know, but Godfrey will determine that as he engaged with all these stakeholders. So from my side, from the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, especially in the Department of Agriculture and in my heart, which the Department of Agriculture includes all crops, plant sciences, and almost everything, agribusiness, economist. We really so looking forward to be able to assist in future. It was a very good thing to engage with you, to get to know you, to get to know your needs, to get to know your challenges. And as soon as you also engage with us again, we will be able to assist you and be able to help you. And I want to wish you a very good, successful business life as you go the production, and also as farmers always engage to one another. The community of practice is much important thing. Don't become an individual farmer. It does not work. It works when you have people around you. Buy one tractor around and then be utilized by so many people. So work together. As you work together, that is how we're gonna actually overcome the malnutrition issues that we have in South Africa, in Africa, and also the issue of increasing productivity, because increasing productivity, it needs us together standing with one another and work together. Climate smart agriculture is the way forward, and we hope that we're going to be able to to unpack it in a way that it will be very useful for you guys and be able to learn much better. Thank you so much, Godfrey. And I wish well to all of you. COVID is still there. Please just be vigilant and be safe, and stay safe with your colleagues in the farms. And also when our students comes in, please do take them. They're very useful. They might also solve some of your problems. Thank you so much.
Once more, thank you very much, Prof. Mapoli. Extended warm appreciation and great gratitude to the European Union, UNEP, DFFE, Brandhill Africa, UNISA, UNISA College of Agriculture, UNISA Enterprise, and most importantly so, to you, the participants who've been with us for the past 3 days. Very fruitful and productive session and a clear way forward. So once more, thank you very much. We will keep the interaction unfolding. Have yourselves a great, blessed day. And once more, thank you for your participation. You shall receive the presentations in due course. Stay blessed and thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.